coast to coast.
Just so we're clear, Auburn is destroying South Carolina. So much for South Carolina giving Auburn a game. They destroyed them at the Jungle at Neville a couple weeks ago, and they're going to do it again here today. It's already 46-29. The Auburn-Wichita game has been fantastic, 44-40, and that Western Kentucky game is awful. It's a blowout with the Hilltoppers rolling. We've got a Maxwell Minute with a guy that we love, Rich Sermonello. Let's dance, Rich.
Hey, Scotty, this is one of my favorite features that I do every year, every March. I call it Hoops and Helmets. And what I do is I combine the football and basketball programs of every university in Division I, and then I rank them over the last 6 months. So who has had the best combination of football and basketball in the 2023-2024 season? I'm going to give you the top three, but before we get there, just a couple of near misses as we head into Selection Sunday. Tennessee and Texas, got a close eye on Tennessee, probably a number one seed. They're going to have a shot to rise in my rankings, but right now just outside the top three. So quickly, number three, Alabama Crimson Tide, led by the football program this year. Odd season in Tuscaloosa. 12-2 slow start, then they win 11 straight, beat Georgia in the SEC title game, and then some disappointment. They lose the college football playoff semifinal in the Rose Bowl to Michigan, and they lose Nick Saban as well. But SEC champs in football, good season for Nate Oates and the basketball program. Looks like they're going to be a number 3 seed in the SEC tournament, possibly a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. Now, number 2, a program I haven't talked about in this space in a very long time, that's Kansas. Kansas, usually great in basketball, horrible in football, so they don't qualify. This year, the script has been flipped a little bit, led by the football program. Lance Leipold takes the Jayhawks to 9-4, bowl victory, a ranking in the final polls. First time that's happened since 2007. So football, great. Basketball, not so much. Bill Self, probably his worst regular season since he's been in Lawrence. A lot of talent, but also a lot of injuries, especially recently. Hunter Dickinson still waiting to see what the situation is with his shoulder. Injuries have been killing Kansas, but listen, they're still going to qualify for the tournament, probably be a number 3 seed. And finally, my number 1 Hoops and Helmets program for this year, heading into the tournament, the Arizona Wildcats. Similar situation to Kansas. Usually basketball, no problem. That's the case this year. Arizona looks like they'll be a number 2 seed after the tough loss to USC. Possibly they could play their way into a number 1, but it was the football program that led Arizona this year. 10-3, huge surprise. First time they have been ranked in years. Best season for Arizona since the Desert Swarm days of 1998 and Dick Tomey. So they've got it in football and they've got it in basketball. I'm going to give you one bonus before we head to a break. How about the South Dakota Jackrabbits? I'm going to go to the FCS national champs in football, top team in the Summit League in basketball. So way to go, Jackrabbits. It's been a great season for those folks in South Dakota.
My guy, Rich Sermonello from the Maxwell Club. We love that dude. Anyway, I did the Rose Bowl with him, and it was the first time I got to actually sit and work with him in a studio. Fantastic guy. Loves college sports, and he's a freak. He won't admit it, for high school sports as well. Anyway, we welcome our radio affiliate, Sirius XM channel 159. We dominate on there. I just wanted to say, of all the channels that people don't know about, we are number 1. Honestly, we're killing everyone. We're turning into a huge thing on there. People love gambling, and they love booze and sex and weed too. Don't talk about weed on the. He's telling me in my Sports Byline USA and their radio affiliates out of San Francisco. Deepak holding it down. Good to have the radio audience with us. All right, Carver High. A lot of games tonight to hit.
A lot of games tonight to hit, that's for sure. And I did just want to let you know that second water ball I saw was not Rory. Only one water ball from him.
Thank God.
But still, he did hit it in the water on 12. So he's got a lot of work to do. there right now. But they're hitting in the water all over the place down there at TPC Sawgrass right now. All right, Big 12 and ACC for tonight. Let's go there next. And these two Big 12 games, Scotty, I mean, you talk about heavy hitters club. That is absolutely what you have here. Texas Tech and Houston, they will play in the first game tonight. Houston minus 10.5. Baylor and Iowa State, maybe the game of the night across all the conference tournament games. Minus 1.5 for the Cyclones. Pitt and North Carolina, first game of the night in the ACC in D.C. And then Virginia laying 2.5 against NC State tonight in the second game.
All right, so we talked about this earlier. I'm going to take some high-risk bets here with NC State to upset Virginia and Pitt with the 7.5 points against North Carolina. Heels win, don't cover. Pitt makes it a game. I like Iowa State, and I'm scared to death to make the play to beat Baylor because I think Baylor is every bit as good as Iowa State. This is going to be a fantastic game. And I bet the under in the Houston-Texas Tech game. I do believe that it's too much wood to give Texas Tech. They're going to be showing up for this game, guaranteed. That's going to be another ringer. This thing's going to be a badass game. I bet it at under 131 and a hook this morning. So I did bet the under in the Houston-Texas Tech game. I think it's going to be a war. Like, I was watching that UAB game with Wichita, and they were letting them play, and everything was under the basket, and there was violence. Same thing in the Auburn game early on. A lot of violence inside, hard getting buckets, and then Auburn found a way and started knocking down shots from outside, and they're blowing them out. So I think Texas Tech Houston is a great game. Baylor, Iowa State, a great game. Pitt, North Carolina State, a great game. And I'm looking for a little luck with the Wolfpack. They've been on a tear. I said it reminds me of 83. Let's see if they can knock off another power in Virginia. I am not a fan of Bennett's Virginia Cavs style. I don't like the way they play basketball. They should be playing in the Ivy League. They're so boring.
Yeah, playing their fourth game in 4 days as well. So we'll see if they still got a little juice in the tank.
They're 20 years old
for them tonight. I agree with you on that point. SEC, Texas A&M and Kentucky is the first game of the night in Nashville. You will have Alabama against Florida in the second game. Pac-12, Oregon and Arizona, Colorado and Washington State late night.
All right, I bet on Kentucky. I laid 5.5. I'm on Florida with the points. I'm on Arizona, and I'm on Colorado. Flat out.
Flat out. I have one more rack for you. I will give it to you later on because I'm out of time. I've got NBA for you tonight as well. There are 2 hockey games that we will also get to at some point here in the final hour on Coast to Coast.
The NHL getting absolutely drowned out by college basketball. They want no part of tonight. They have 2 of the worst games I've ever seen in my life on the table tonight. I mean, they're terrible. It's embarrassing.
They are not good at all.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
unlike the last one, I don't think these managers are going to sign up for a 1-1 draw. I think the Spurs know they need to win this one. They need the full 3 points to try to get into Champions League position.
But generally speaking, I find Klopp and Liverpool's approach to be much more effective, which is you disrupt those patterns of play, you get in the middle of those triangles, and you put them on the back foot.
Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca. Only on SportsGrid.
I'm sitting in this chair last year talking, everyone's talking about how the Mets have won the offseason and all these signings and all these players are brought in. And then, you have to deal with, injuries like I think I've never seen before.
That they're really going to try to upgrade some defensively in the outfield and with Bader. And there's a lot of good things there, but the depth is what's going to be important because not everybody's going to hold up.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The Rams, I'm hearing in the Ferrall Spew newsroom, are signing Jimmy Garoppolo. That just in, and it's always a great day when we get a hookup with the legend himself, Dr. Zhivago. Dr. David Chow from Sports Injury Central, SICScore.com. You got to be a member of that site if you want to really get the edge in betting. And also follow him on X at Pro Football Doc. He also lives in a way nicer place than you. Earlier in the show, I talked about getting a job to coach at Stanford would be living in Palo Alto, would be living in a better place than you. I also said that coaching at Pauley Pavilion and living in Pasadena and coaching at the Rose Bowl would be living in a better place than you. I also know that Dr. Chow lives in a better place than you, just so we're clear. Doc, always good to see you from San Diego, Cali. I want to start with Garrett Cole's elbow. They are saying 2 months of rest. And like Tanaka, who got a platelet-rich injection, my guess is they'll give him one because they're not operating on him. Do you believe, unlike Davis Maddock, who said he'll come back in 2 months and still have Tommy John surgery, that this will not work on his elbow? Do you believe his elbow is okay or not?
Well, we don't have a lot of information on it. There is not video, but we have lots and lots of worry. When the word came out with fatigue, nonspecific, they didn't immediately release MRI results saying it was normal. There was a cross-country flight to visit with a doctor who's also a surgeon. Those were all red flags. And at that point in time, I said, if I were a Yankees fan and you could say we could have Garrett Cole back just like last year, healthy as last year, after the All-Star break, take it. Because, at the time they were saying a month off. Now they're saying 2 months. And now then there's a ramp-up time. Looking at 3 months before the best case scenario that Garrett Cole is back is the belief.
Wow. And what about Aaron Judge's abs? He's now doing Ralph Lauren cologne commercials. But what about his ab problem and his toe problem that he never had fixed?
Well, his turf toe problem, he admits, is going to be a lingering issue. And the question is this ab problem related in terms of compensation? It's not related to his oblique that he had last year. So lower abs is really core muscle. So is he headed for a core muscle procedure, especially the power hitter that he is? That's another one to watch. But I have more optimism at this point in time on Judge being able to perform than Cole, as if you can hear in my voice.
Lucas Giolito is done for the year after having UCL surgery on his elbow and having an internal brace put in his elbow. I guess that's better than having a ligament taken from your ass and put in your elbow.
Yeah, normally it's a graft and they take it from your forearm or wrist, or sometimes, honestly, from your knee and hamstring to rebuild the ulnar collapse. They're doing the internal brace, but it's just such bad luck. The Red Sox signed him to a 2-year deal. Immediately he goes out. He's out all of this year and likely a good part, if not all of next year. And then the internal, I don't expect this internal brace recovery to be like that of Brock Purdy. Totally different animals. Brock Purdy was one traumatic hit. This is an overuse baseball injury. I don't think he's going to make a Brock Purdy-like return. And also, throwing a football is fundamentally much different than pitching a baseball.
Kodai Senga's arm. What do you know about his problems?
Well, you're hoping the PRP works, right? I mean, hasn't been a lot recently. There's some optimism that he's coming around to it. Hopefully the platelet-rich plasma, gets some healing and he can come back.
So Kirk Cousins coming off Achilles surgery. And while I'm at it, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, not really worried about either one of them. Less worry about Aaron Rodgers in terms of his Achilles, A, because it happened earlier in the season, B, because it is his front foot, not push-off foot. Kirk was later in the season and his back foot. Look, at this point in time, the vice presidency is more of a threat to Aaron Rodgers' season than the Achilles. And I don't think the vice presidency is a threat to his season either. And we have good confidence that Kirk Cousins will be ready to go for week 1 for the Falcons.
I think his vice presidency is a threat to humanity. How does that sound? Ben Simmons back, his second back surgery already. I think he's finished. This guy gets injured going to the refrigerator. I think he needs to go back to Australia and chill out with all that money he's made.
Well, I mean, a second back surgery for anyone is not good. And for Ben Simmons, in terms of the litany of issues that he's had, I mean, how many chances is he going to get? I don't know how teams are going to look at him and who's going to give him another chance at this point in time. You may be right.
Luka Doncic's hammy. Do you think his hamstring affects how much he cries to the refs more than any player in NBA history?
Well, Luka, he's a talented player, but he is one guy that, to put it this way, he's very skilled, but he's not exactly completely dynamic in playing above the rim. And so hopefully he can accommodate for that hamstring some and get through it more quickly than others.
How about the big fella, Şengün of the Rockets, a great player. Boy, did he screw his ankle and knee up.
Yeah, usually, you get one injury. He had 2. I mean, the bad ankle sprain and the knee where you may have stretched a ligament. So, yeah, that was an ugly-looking injury. That is a time where the wheelchair of a basketball player was legit. I mean, between his ankle and knee.
Tyler Hero Sandwich has foot tendonitis. As you know, Dr. Zhivago, I have had multiple foot tendonitis injuries. I am professionally engaged in foot injuries, bone spurs, double plantar fasciitis, you name it. Marbles in the balls of my feet. That's another one we don't have a name for, but Doc does.
Yeah, tendonitis is tricky. Do you wait for it to be 100% better? to come back, or do you try and come back before then and then risk aggravation? And so they're going to have a decision to make. He's ruled out again for right now. Often letting tendonitis fully heal is like watching grass grow there, as you know, Scott. So how much patience Hero and the Heat have?
Julius Randle's shoulder. Mitchell Robinson has been out forever. What about these two for the Knicks? At least we got Anunoby back and Brunson.
Oh, I know. For a while there, it was everyone Knicks. Look, I've always been more pessimistic on Randle than released from the get-go. When you dislocate your shoulder, look, in football, you can put a harness on it and play. In basketball, even with it offside, you got to play defense and rebound and reach, and the harness doesn't really work, isn't really compatible with playing basketball. And so there's high risk of resubluxation, dislocation of the shoulder. So I've always been more pessimistic on Randle than what the Knicks said. And Robinson, obviously, it's a matter of getting the ankle back in shape after the fracture and surgery.
And how soon do you think we'll see fat Joel Embiid back? I got 20 seconds.
Joel Embiid, look, I think the month timeline they said was a check back with me. I mean, it's a race to see if he makes it back this year or not. I mean, from the get-go, I always thought he would need that surgery, which he finally did have.
Remember, Dr. Zhivago has a way better life than you. Doc, have a great weekend. Thanks for coming on Coast to Coast.
Thank you.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Unlike the last one, I don't think these managers are going to sign up for a 1-1 draw. I think the Spurs know they need to win this one. They need the full 3 points to try to get into Champions League position.
But generally speaking, I find Klopp and Liverpool's approach to be much more effective, which is you disrupt those patterns of play, you get in the middle of those triangles, and you put them on the back foot.
Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca, only on SportsGrid.
I'm sitting in this chair last year talking, everyone's talking about how the Mets have won the offseason and all these signings and all these players are brought in. And then, you have to deal with, injuries like I think I've never seen before.
That they're really going to try to upgrade some defensively in the outfield and with Bader. And there's a lot of good things there, but the depth is what's going to be important because not everybody's going to hold up.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Robert, hi. I know you're going to talk baseball a little later, but I'll slip this in. Nasty Nestor Cortez will get the ball from Aaron Boone on opening day in a easy loss to the Astros to start the season. That's who's the opening day started out with Garrett Cole out 2 months, or as Dr. Zhivago said, as he was skipping, I did hear it's more like 3 months at the very least because they're going to have to ramp him up. So, bye-bye for 90 days to Garrett Cole.
Yeah, look, and I like I told you yesterday, I'll even go further than Doc. I'll bet you don't pitch at all this year. So that's like best case scenario, like Doc said. The best case scenario would be if he actually pitched after
Maybe he
the
could
All-Star
play for
break.
the Long Island Ducks.
Maybe he could. That's very possible
Underhanded.
that he could do that. Underhand Ducks baseball, first practice tomorrow. Softball, I should say, first practice tomorrow morning for the Ducks. Everybody's very excited.
What position is Ray Lewis going to play?
Well, in this they all gonna you rotate him around the field, so everybody gets a chance to play everywhere.
No.
Look, it's the first time I'm doing this.
Opening
I'm not
day
ruffling
pitcher.
any feathers in the first practice. I'm not going to set the bar that high.
Always ruffle feathers.
I always ruffle the feathers here.
Take over the league.
All right, let's take it over. Take the whole thing over. Here's what I got left for you for tonight. San Diego State and Utah State, Colorado State, and New Mexico. That will be in the Mountain West, which is at the Thomas and Mack in Vegas. You have North Texas and FAU and Temple and Charlotte. Those are the other games in the American tonight.
Well, I just think that Utah State game is going to be better than 4.5. I think San Diego State wins. I think the Aggies cover the number. I think that's going to be a last possession game. And I'm going to take a shot that New Mexico knocks off Colorado State. I'll take those points with North Texas. I don't mess with that team, as you know. I think FAU, I think they might even lose to them. How's that sound? And then Temple and Charlotte, you can have it. I don't want anything to do with that crappy game.
There is, of course, a few others here for tonight that I know you're involved with that I don't have boards for. Me and you both are always on the Anteaters, who are playing Long Beach State tonight with an 8.5 there in the Big West semis. The Antelopes of Grand Canyon in the WAC are also in action tonight against Seattle in that tournament.
Right.
You have some late night games there. Hawaii's playing UC Davis and UT Arlington against Tarleton State as well in that WAC semi.
Yeah, look, I like Arlington to beat Tarleton. I like Hawaii to beat Davis. As far as the other ones, Texas Southern, I like over Alabama A&M. I like the Anteaters for sure. I'm on them at -8. I like Grand Canyon to beat Seattle and cover. I like North Carolina Central against Delaware State. And I think that's the gist of it. That is the gist of it. That's every game.
That should be every game right there on the board tonight for College Rack. As we're almost there. Selection Sunday. We'll come back on Monday and we will have our field of 68, which is very, very exciting for us next week here on C2C. All right, several things NFL. Obviously, you got to the Kenny Pickett stuff, traded to the Eagles. We've talked about that extensively here so far today. In fact, though, before I move on from that, I have that Russell Wilson clip. Guys, can we do that first? I know I have Patrick Queen lined up first. Can we do Russell Wilson now? Because honestly, Scotty, this was Russell Wilson like 3 hours before the trade was made with Kenny Pickett going out of town. He was asked about if it was explained to him yet his role, they're going to be a competition, etc. And Russell clearly skirted the question because he knew that Kenny Pickett was going to get traded 3 hours later. Here's Russell Wilson.
it's a great place to be. Grateful for the opportunity to be able to get after it and do what we came here to do, and that's to win football games.
All right, questions?
Russell, has your role kind of been defined? What do you expect coming here, and what have they said to you?
Yeah, I'm expecting us to win. I'm expecting us to do everything we can to enjoy this process and get better every single day. I think the gift of this game is you get to go out there and try to be the best version of you every day. I'm fortunate this is my 13th year in the league.
So he didn't answer. So no answer.
So he has nothing to worry about now at all. And I think that they should get Fields in short order. I do not believe that the answer for them is, what are they going to draft some kid and then what? Have two quarterbacks, one that's never played in the NFL standing on the sideline as a backup? I think they have to go and get Fields now. No one wants Fields. He's worthless. They just got all these picks in this deal today. Give them all up and give the picks to the Bears and get Fields, and then they'll have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and then you have a F you back plan. Everyone can, those two guys can flat out play. Let's face facts. Wilson, and I don't deny I said I don't like him. I don't like him, and I think his best years are gone. But I'm not stupid. He threw 26 touchdown passes. He threw like 8 picks. That was it. Whatever his numbers were, he was one off of Lamar Jackson's touchdowns. I thought he played fine in Denver. I think they had other issues in Denver, and I think the Denver head coach is a massive D. And I think that they hated each other, and it wasn't going to work out. And I don't think Tomlin really is a D. I think he's going to work with him and make it work, which is what they should have done with him in Denver. They gave him all that money in Denver for a reason. They wanted it to work. Sean Payton came along, and he wanted no part of Russell Wilson. Now, what the Steelers have to do is go get this kid Fields, who can flat out play. I don't care what anybody says. He can play. He can break ankles. He takes off running. He's dangerous. And I've seen him throw the ball. And everyone said he couldn't throw the ball. They said the same thing about Lamar Jackson. He can't throw the ball. That's all nonsense. If they're smart, they'll go get Fields and then draft some hack quarterback in the draft and have him for the future. I mean, they did it before with Rudolph. Rudolph was no better than a hack quarterback at Oklahoma State when they drafted him. Let's just face facts. And some people think Pickett is a hack. They said he was too old, that his hands were too small. And now today they're saying, literally within an hour of this, they said that the Steelers panicked when they traded Kenny Pickett. I don't think so. I think it's obvious that there's truth on both sides of this story. That he wanted out is obviously true because he knew he was no longer the man in Pittsburgh, so he wanted out. Who doesn't want out when they're no longer important somewhere in their job and people are screwing them over? Who doesn't want out of that in sports, right? So he wanted out, but they also have confirmed without provocation, and it's obvious that last year he was a little whiny bee, and he cried when they wanted him to dress, and he said that never happened, but it did. And then he didn't like it when they got Wilson. He just doesn't like the way things have been going for him in Pittsburgh. So the best thing is to give him what he wants. He wants out. Well, then there you go. See you later. Nice knowing you. It's sad because I liked watching him at Pitt. I liked him when they drafted him. I was excited when they got him. I didn't want the kid out of Liberty. I think they have to get Fields and get another quarterback in the draft. That's all there is to it. And they're not going to get a great quarterback in the draft with their position.
No, they are not. Aaron Donald joined the, as you like to say earlier, the Quitters Club.
The Quitters Club.
Retires after 10 years
Quitter.
in the NFL. He's 32 years old. Obviously, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. One of those is a little fraudulent. The last
he
one
deserved,
that he won.
He deserved 2. That's it. And
he
Watt
deserved
deserved
the third
it.
one.
Watt deserved it. He had way better numbers. Everybody knows it's true. They gave him that because of a popularity contest, and that's just all there is to it.
And of course, Super Bowl champion that one year with the Rams. The Chargers trade Keenan.
That was also fixed.
Chargers trade Keenan Allen to the Bears. So whoever's going to play quarterback for the Bears next year, seemingly Caleb Williams, will have themselves a target. But, he's kind of in that old and breaks down a lot category as well now, Scotty, Keenan Allen. He's reached the old and breaks down a lot category.
People laugh all they want. They can, and I've heard, some of you geniuses that write in, I see it. Oh, you don't know, you're an idiot, I hate you, get a haircut, cancer throat, have another cigarette, I'll punch you in the face. And here's the deal, is that these warm-ass California boys don't like playing in cold weather. And even Deion Sanders said it. He said, I don't want my son playing in a cold-ass city because he's not going to be good in cold weather. And I am telling you, if there's two guys that don't want no part of cold weather, because from day one, it's cold in Chicago. It's cold in their October games are cold. Okay, November, freezing. December, frozen ass. January, literally Siberia. Okay, now here's the deal. Caleb Williams, he's a P. He can't handle it. And there's one guy that will never have any chance of that succeeding with his leg problems and his calf problems and his hamstring problems. It's Keenan Allen. He might as well go to hell. At least it's warm. He's not playing in that frozen weather without injuries. He'll be on the sideline for 90% of the games. Trust me, watch what happens.
I got one or two more things in the NFL. Then all tonight's NBA, all of tonight's two great hockey games. We'll get all that in when we come back.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Unlike the last one, I don't think these managers are going to sign up for a 1-1 draw. I think the Spurs know they need to win this one. They need the full 3 points to try to get into Champions League position.
But generally speaking, I find Klopp and Liverpool's approach to be much more effective, which is you disrupt those patterns of play, you get in the middle of those triangles, and you put them on the back foot.
Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca, only on SportsGrid.
I'm sitting in this chair last year talking, everyone's talking about how the Mets have won the offseason and all these signings and all these players are brought in. And then, you have to deal with, injuries like I think I've never seen before.
That they're really going to try to upgrade some defensively in the outfield and with Bader. And there's a lot of good things there, but the depth is what's going to be important because not everybody's going to hold up.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Now, I have heard this from reliable sources, and Carver High will back me up on this. Mafia just broke the news to me that this is true, and then I'm going to reveal it to you, the audience. So what's happened is that they were going to have a Jaromir Jagr bobblehead night at PPG in Pittsburgh for the legendary Jaromir Jagr, who they just raised his jersey, the 68, to the Raptors, and then they were going to follow that up, which they really screwed it up. They should have just had it the same night. You know, bobbleheads, the night he gets his jersey retired, that would have made like the perfect night. But, of course, they butchered it just like their season. And they're like, no, we'll do it a month later. And then these morons lost the bobbleheads. They have been stolen. They're gone. So there's not going to be any bobbleheads of Jaromir Jagr going to anybody unless in the night, secretly. Don't tell anyone where you got this. The guy could be selling them like drugs to people on the streets, and then you just make sure they keep their mouth shut. Don't bleed. Don't talk to the feds when you get this bobblehead and put it on your bedroom dresser. But what I have heard is the Penguins have hired BetMGM to come in and have a $150 bonus bet night when every fan will get $150 in bonus bets in their BetMGM mobile app if they just download the app and sign up for $5, put your name in there, get an account going. You bet the $5 on the Penguin game. They'll lose, certainly. And then it doesn't even matter if they win, which they never do. So they'll lose, and then you'll get $150 in your account immediately when they lose if you make that $5 bet standard odds price. So the night that they were supposed to give away the bobbleheads, what they're doing is they're giving away the $150 in bonus bets, and all you have to do is download it, sign up, and use the bonus code SG150. And you download it on iOS or Android in the Play Store or at BetMGM.com. BetMGM, once again, to the rescue, Carver High.
It is amazing because they always are to the rescue, Scotty. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. BetMGM always comes and they save the day for you, especially with promotions like this. That's for sure. All right, I have a lot to do here, and I don't have a lot of time to do it. We had our first draft trade today. So the Vikings get the 23rd pick in the first round. That was the Houston Texans pick via the Cleveland Browns. So the Vikings now have 11 and 23. Why is this significant, Scotty? All of the people who seem to know what they're talking about say that the Vikings are loading up all of that capital to move into the top 5, 6, 7 and get themselves one of those prized quarterbacks. So that's why the Vikings went and got themselves pick number 23 earlier today.
Congratulations to all of them.
Good luck to you and Godspeed. Hot off the Spew News presses as well. Jimmy G has found a new home. He will be where should he be? L.A. I mean, what a perfect place for a guy like that. So the LA Rams
stars there and everything. He's going to fit right in with his tan.
That's it. We'll down to the stuff that matters. The Browns hire Mike Vrabel as a coaching and personnel consultant. So Vrabel, who's not going to coach this year, Scotty, instead will get to hang out in the Browns facility for the next 8, 9, 10 months, awaiting his next job, drinking all of their coffee and cashing checks from them, as he will have no pressure on him whatsoever because he's not the head coach and he's not the general manager, and he can still act like he is and make no decisions. I love it. What a great move for him.
And if anything happens with the Browns, they will fire Stefanski and give Vrabel the job.
That's another great reason to be in the building because you have a ready-made head coach right there in the waiting. I gave you the Russell Wilson already. I'm gonna forget Saquon. I don't care about him, but I got to give you Patrick Queen talking about how he's now on the other side of a hated rivalry between the Steelers and the Ravens. Here's Patrick Queen today at the Steeler facilities.
Attracted you to the Steelers, and why here?
That man standing right there. I think just the organization itself, known for winning, known for great defense, and it got a bunch of stars over here. So I just wanted to come be a part of that, come be that extra piece to trying to win again.
Be different or strange for you competing against
Exactly.
in the same division?
It's gonna be weird, but I mean, I want to be that villain. I want to be that guy. So I'm looking
Wants to be the
do
villain.
some stuff to them.
I love anyone that wants to hurt people on the Baltimore Ravens. I saw my friend Ariel at the Super Bowl, Epstein, and I said, by the way, F the Ravens and say hi to your father. And then I saw her again 3 days later, and I go, don't forget, F the Ravens and say hi to your father.
As always, that's what we always say about them. All right, how about NBA tonight? There wasn't much last night. The Knicks did win in Portland, and they barely covered the number. OKC didn't cover that number against the Mavericks. You had the Celtics, of course, winning against the Suns, and the Suns run it right back, Scott. Every game you hit in the NBA last night. Every game. 6 games. 6-0. Clean sweep. We'll try again tonight here. Suns and the Hornets. So Phoenix now heads south. They are laying 10.5 on the road. 219.5 is the total.
I'm on Charlotte with the number. The Suns do not want to play this game tonight at all. In fact, I think several players have picked up weed in Charlotte and are smoking a bone outside the team hotel right now before they have to go around to the front and get on the bus.
I've heard the same rumors that you have about that situation. Miami visits Detroit tonight. Miami minus 7.5 on the road, 217.5 at Little Caesars.
Honestly, again, the Heat will win the game. The Pistons will cover the number. The Pistons have been playing solid every night lately. Too little, too late. Let's grab the number and see if we can make some money.
We always love that anytime we have an opportunity to do it. The Magic are in Toronto tonight against the Raptors. Magic minus 8.5, 217.5 is the total. Only thing of significance I see here, no R.J. Barrett for Toronto. He's been out. Gary Trent Jr. questionable. Everybody good to go for Orlando.
I think Barrett's brother died.
I believe that's, yes, it's personal reasons is why he's listed on the injury
Always
report.
a bad day when a teammate has a brother die, so the black cloud is over the Raptors organization. I will bet on the Magic and lay the number.
The Clippers are in New Orleans tonight against the Pelicans. The Clippers, Scotty, of course, they've got all kinds of injury things. Harden missed the last game. He's questionable tonight. We know Kawhi and Paul George have been banged up as well. They are catching 6.5 in New Orleans here. So Pelicans minus 6.5. The total 218.5.
Yeah, look, they both played last night and they kicked ass and took names. Kawhi with his bad back, he still had like 30 points. What do you have, 27? I'll take the Clippers in 6 every night if somebody's giving them 6.
I would definitely just keep your eye on it until like an hour before tip. Make sure that one or both or all those guys are playing. Just see that they're there.
If none of them are playing, I like them even more.
Yeah, that's our theory around here. The Nuggets are in San Antonio against the Spurs tonight. Minus 10.5 for Joker and the Nuggets. 223.5 is the total. Looks like we're good to go with Wembanyama. We always got to check and make sure he's playing. He is in.
Spurs and the number based on Denver does not want to go there at all, let alone play. They're like, oh, Jesus, we got to go to San Antonio. They do not want to even get on the plane, let alone play there. Give me the Spurs with the number and see if we can make some money.
And finally, on this slate tonight, the Hawks are in Utah against the Jazz. Hawks minus 2.5, 224.5 is the total.
The Jazz will win the game easily. The Hawks suck.
The Hawks do suck. The Hawks are really bad. That is it. Your night in the NBA. Another 6-pack for you, which hopefully will make it easy to go 6-0 again because there is exactly 6 games on the card. How about hockey?
Everybody
before
loves
we go.
hockey.
Nice effort by the Islanders in Buffalo last night. They lost 4-0. Good job by them. So after winning all those games in a row, they haven't scored a goal in 2 games. So that's not very promising. Bruins beat the Canadiens 2-1 in overtime. Tampa beat the Rangers. They were down early. It was supposed to be Jaromir Jagr bobblehead night at the PPG, as you mentioned before. Unfortunately, they all got stolen, taken off the back of the truck.
Now it's BetMGM night.
Carolina, that's like the cherry on top for the Penguins season right there. Having a bad year as it is, and the fans can't even get the Jagr bobblehead.
Oh, and they all wanted them more than the game. They wanted those more than the game.
That's why people showed up last night, was to get that. Devils beat the Stars. Nice effort by Vegas in Calgary. They lost 4-1. Nice effort by Seattle at home, losing to the Capitals 2-1. The Coyotes cleared the bill. I'm tired of Coyote Arena stuff also. I'm not doing any more stories about the Coyotes and arenas in the state of Arizona.
They don't deserve
moving to Utah.
They don't deserve a team.
Enough already with all this stuff. Here we go. 2 games tonight. Anaheim is in for Elapeg against the Jets. Anaheim, one of the worst teams in the NHL this year. The Jets, of course, one of the best. Minus 450. Are you kidding me here? 450?
Jets minus a goal and a half. The only way to go. Let me ask you a question. Atlanta wants the expansion team again for the third time. I say no, but they're going to give them a team in Forsyth County with all the rich white people as long as they're not down in the hood. Would you rather they got a new team, or would you rather they moved the horrible desert dogs to Atlanta? Give them that crappy team. They deserve another crappy team.
I'd rather they played in a parking lot in Arizona in the heat than go and put another team in Atlanta. I'd rather they played outside than Atlanta get another team.
That is
the
worst
never get another
decision
team
ever. That they give them a third chance is absolute bullshit.
These people at the league office. We can't find another city that hasn't had hockey yet and give them a chance to have a team.
You know what the problem
Why
is?
do we need it?
It's
Why
because
do we need
Bill
team anyway?
Bill and Gary have gone to too many breakfasts together with their bad ideas.
Right. I'm sure that's probably the case. The other game is the Kings are in Chicago against the Blackhawks. Minus 275 for the Kings, plus 220 for the Blackhawks. I'm going to lay the goal and a half with the Kings, Scotty, only because I saw that Elvis will be in the building tonight. He made the road trip with the Kings, and he's in Chicago. So we have to at least bet on him being there.
I mean, it's just automatic. The Blackhawks are a high school team.
They are a high school team. They're very, very bad. So there you go. We talked about Garrett Cole plenty. Paul Skeens, he blew guys away yesterday. I think it's absolute nonsense. I can't believe he's up. It was like 101, 102, 101. Right now, I mean, blowing these guys away. But they're not going to play him. The Rays reunite with Jake Odorizzi on a minor league deal. So he's back in Tampa.
Taylor, the Pirates got the outfielder.
Michael Taylor there. The college football playoff has now finalized a 14-team format, which will start in 2026. So we waited forever for a 12. We haven't even played the 12 yet. We didn't even play the 12 yet. We don't even know how it is. And we're already going to 14. We've already moved to 14.
It's embarrassing. They're going to play 2 years of 12 and then go to 14. And before you know it, it'll be a 68-team field.
It certainly will. Oh, no. Nick Taylor going to hit one in the water here. We can't have that. We have Nick Taylor here.
God.
We do not. Oh, he looks like he just held on. Oh.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Unlike the last one, I don't think these managers are going to sign up for a 1-1 draw. I think the Spurs know they need to win this one. They need the full 3 points to try to get into Champions League position.
But generally speaking, I find Klopp and Liverpool's approach to be much more effective, which is you disrupt those patterns of play, you get in the middle of those triangles, and you put them on the back foot.
Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca, only on SportsGrid.
I'm sitting in this chair last year talking, everyone's talking about how the Mets have won the offseason and all these signings and all these players are brought in. And then, you have to deal with, injuries like I think I've never seen before.
That they're really going to try to upgrade some defensively in the outfield and with Bader. And there's a lot of good things there, but the depth is what's going to be important because not everybody's going to hold up.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, for all finish time, it looks like Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are opening a steakhouse called 1587 together. They should have done their homework about famous athletes opening restaurants and how that pans out. Lakers part owner Johnny Buss announces a presidential campaign as an independent. Jesus, I wonder who's he going to get? Freddie Freeman to be the vice president? Ex-Arkansas State football player Blaze Taylor arrested for first-degree murder. A man thought he had migraines. Instead, he had a tapeworm in his brain from undercooked bacon. Jesus, what is up with that? We like going for the Grand Slam in the morning, Carver High and Mafia. Viral Warriors fan in a Curry photo identified as a $1,000 an hour escort. We love $1,000 an hour escorts. Some Chief fans that had frostbite from the playoff game against Miami have had amputations. What is happening? You go to a game and then they cut your limbs off now? Gang leader named Barbecue is now the most powerful man in Haiti. They're evacuating Americans every minute. And Barbecue used to be a cop. He's gone rogue. Teen girl had her head repeatedly bashed into concrete in a gruesome brawl caught on camera. Former college football player accidentally shoots and kills his mother thinking she was an intruder. Yeah, that's what he said anyway. 20-year-old skier dies after a 600-foot fall from a New Hampshire mountain. 600 feet. What a disaster. A Republican politico accused of sexual torture and murder of his pal in Alabama, some friend you are, sexually tortured him before he killed him. Brutal Gambino hitman Joey Testa will be freed soon after 35 years behind bars for killing at least 11 people. They've stopped counting when they put Joey in the brink. GTD is next. Go to FerrallOnTheBench.com because we're funnier and we make tons of cash.